What's up, everybody, and welcome to Killing the Points Game. My name is Blake Martin, and today we're going to be talking about CARES Act 2 proposals, PUA issues and problems that people are having, as well as PPP and EIDL grants and loans. The PUA, or Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Programs, have now gone live in most states. However, a lot of people are having trouble with the applications, and they're coming up with some outcomes that are not quite as favorable as they might have expected. Due to the passing of the interim bill on the 24th of April, we now have $320 billion for PPP and $60 billion for EIDL. And although there is a lot of new funding for these programs, people are having a lot of trouble. Also, Congress's recess has been extended. The Senate is now looking at a May 4th date, and the House has an ambiguous date as to when they are actually going to come back into session. So before we start the video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, head over to the Facebook group Killing the Points Game. I post there regularly as well as on the channel here. Also, just a quick disclaimer. I am not a CPA, I am not an accountant, I am not a financial advisor, I have no licenses. These videos are meant as entertainment. If you need advice, please seek professional advice, do your own research, and stay informed on what is going on. So, PUA, or the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, it has now gone live in most states, if not by now, probably by the end of this week in your state, which is providing unemployment benefits for the first time ever for self-employed people, private contractors, any people that don't usually qualify for unemployment insurance through the EDD. So starting yesterday morning, running all the way into today, people who have started applying for the PUA here in California, as well as nationwide, have started to run into quite a few different roadblocks. The PUA is designed mainly for people that don't have any W-2s whatsoever. Fully self-employed people. In California, the application asks for your most recent employer. Now, it also talks about delayed or denied applications for not reporting all of your previous employers. And once you get to the page that talks about additional employers, you can now add yourself as a self-employed person as an additional employer. However, if you've already had to input information based on W-2 work, in most people's case, it's already too late. As long as you have any W-2 employers, the EDD application basically forces you into a regular UI application as opposed to processing you as a pandemic unemployment assistance application. In California, if your highest quarter earnings were more than $1,300 or your highest quarter earnings was more than $900 and your total base period was more than $1,125, then it's automatically going to approve you based on regular UI. So the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program basically then doesn't apply to you. This is a big problem for most of you who had only a few W-2s or maybe only one, but mostly 1099 work. Under regular UI, you qualify for anywhere between $1 and $450 in California, and under the PUA, you qualify for a minimum of $167 up to $450. So if you end up on the lower end of that spectrum in terms of your W-2 income, you may qualify for only $25, $30, $40, definitely less than $167, so your base minimum payment, or what actually ends up being your weekly benefit amount, is actually going to be much less than what it could have been if you had been able to qualify under the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. We still don't yet know what happens if you get a $0 claim or a denied claim under UI. So if you're under that $1,300 or $900, again, this is different based on each state. But if you do disqualify yourself based on your W-2 income for regular UI, we're still a little bit unclear as to how that's then going to process and further into a PUA application. Hopefully this will be a streamlined process, and each state's EDD department will make it very easy that if you indeed don't qualify for regular UI, that you will be able to then reapply or amend your application as a PUA application, and then based on California's numbers, you'll be able to get that minimum of $167 all the way up to $450. That will again vary by state, and you will also get the additional $600 from the CARES Act, otherwise known as FPUC. Now, I think this is a big problem for people that have very low W-2s and high 1099s. You might have made $100,000 last year. 95,000 of that was through 1099s, and only 5,000 was through W-2s. but based on the way that the applications are processing things, they're going to award you based on just that $5,000. So you qualify for a much lower amount. So I've reached out to my local congresswoman, my local assemblywoman, and I've also reached out to the Musicians Union here in Los Angeles. So I'm trying to figure out if there's anything that we can do about this, if there are any answers, or if there's any other ways to apply when you do fill out the application to make sure that you can qualify for the PUA based on your self-employed income. But as of right now, we don't have those answers. Now, I have run into what I think could potentially be a big problem over the last month or so. Depending on your state, some states call it claiming, some states call it certifying. Basically, when you go in to report your earnings every week or two, in California, it's every 2 weeks we certify. And when you report those earnings, those reported earnings are supposed to be deducted at a certain amount from your overall weekly benefit amount, therefore sort of lowering what your payment is for that week or for those 2 weeks. So if you do make some income, if you have a side hustle, it's supposed to lower that amount, and then your benefit amount is going to reflect that. However, I have multiple data points showing that people are reporting all kinds of different levels of income, and their weekly benefit amounts are not being affected. They're still being paid out their maximum based on their weekly benefit amount. Furthermore, the EDD in California released a notice just a few days ago that for the period of March 14th through May 9th, they are not requiring people to certify. I would assume that this will also take place with PUA applications, basically any sort of unemployment applications that are in process right now. It's not requiring you to actually certify. So even though you might have some smaller earnings that should be deducted from your weekly benefit amount, it's not even allowing you to certify now. It does say that you are required to basically report your earnings. However, the page that it sends you to actually do that reporting or to follow that process basically makes it seem like you're back to work. Unfortunately, I think that the system is really not built for people who might have more than one job or more than one employer. The system sort of makes sense if you only have one W-2 job, just one employer that you've been either furloughed from or laid off, or they don't have work for you. As soon as you do get back to work, you can report that, and then they stop paying you unemployment benefits. However, for many of us that have variable amounts of income, and right now any sort of side hustle that's affecting your overall income, there should be another type of process to be able to actually report that income. And unfortunately, right now, not only is there not one, but when people have been reporting over the past few weeks, it's not been affecting their weekly benefit amounts. So what I'm worried about is overpayments. If they end up paying you out your maximum weekly benefit amount for an undetermined amount of time at this point, if they extend that period past May 9th, or in your state, maybe it's a different date, and they extend these dates out, we could end up with massive overpayments. They could end up with huge clawbacks from the EDD, and people aren't going to be able to pay it back. So although I don't have all the answers right now about how to handle this, I would encourage anyone who is on unemployment insurance or gets approved through the PUA right now that does have earnings, I would stay on top of how those calculators are supposed to work. And if you do think you're getting overpaid, I would report it, because chances are if you do spend that money and you were overpaid, you may end up having to pay that back. Okay, on to the PPP and the EIDL, otherwise known as the Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loans. These are grants and loans through the SBA and lenders that are approved by the SBA to give loans to small businesses. As of the 24th of April, there is a new bill that was passed and was signed for $484 billion of further support or funding for these programs. Despite $60 billion of that 484 being allocated for the economic injury disaster loans, which is those $10,000 or actually $1,000 per employee grants that everybody has been talking about, unfortunately, the page still says lapse in appropriations. And as it looks now, that page may never open up. They're basically just trying to play catch up. So it's very possible that that $60 billion has already been spent or already been allocated. However, I would keep checking back, because in the off chance that it does open back up, you want to be first in line. The site does clearly say that it is on a first come, first served basis. The approved bill provided for $320 billion for the PPP program. However, there have been quite a few problems there as well. The SBA said that they started taking applications from approved lenders for the PPP program as of 10:30 a.m. on the 27th. So many banks and credit unions and even online lenders such as Cabbage or PayPal even have started taking applications for the PPP program. Many of the sites still say that they cannot guarantee payouts even if you are approved. So it is very possible that you could apply now and be approved, but then not actually end up seeing any sort of a loan offering. If you do fully understand the PPP program and you do think that you will qualify and that is something you want to take advantage of, even if it's not a for sure thing, I would definitely recommend going to apply as soon as possible. That way you jump in line as far up that line as you possibly can. Okay, now on to what is being called the CARES Act 2. The Senate, led by Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer, are set to reconvene on May 4th to start basically talking about new proposals for stimulus. The House, however, says that they will not reconvene until further notice based on the recommendations of medical advisors. So the good news is that there are plans for further stimulus. However, they got to get in there and duke it out first until we actually get anything pushed through. So there are a few proposals thus far, and I will go through those now. There's a proposal for $2,000 a month for all who make $130,000 or less per year, ages 16 and up. There are some other $2,000 proposals on the table that sort of back off the payments to $1,000 once the pandemic is over. There are many different timelines in place. However, this $2,000 number seems to be really getting some footing, so I would not be surprised if that somehow materializes into something. There are some proposals for rent freezes nationwide. There are some stipulations in these bills for mortgage holders as well, so they get pretty complicated pretty quick. And nothing has materialized yet, but that is one of the ways that they are looking at basically stimulating the economy, is by removing the necessity to pay for housing. Then, of course, the $600 that has been such a hot topic for the last month or so, that's through the FPUC. We saw that introduced in the CARES Act, basically giving anybody who qualifies for unemployment benefits to get an extra $600 starting in the week ending in April 4th, all the way till July 25th. So, of course, now there are potential proposals to extend or amend in some way that $600 to increase the amount of time that would be offered. So we don't yet know how this is going to shake out, but hopefully by the end of next week, assuming the Senate does actually reconvene, we will have an idea of what things are going to look like in terms of future stimulus packages. However, don't forget about the CARES Act 1. This is adding 13 weeks on top of whatever your state maximum of weeks for unemployment benefits is. So in California, we have a 26-week period, which is now 39 weeks. That's the most common number. Some states have 20 weeks. It kind of just depends on the state. But an additional 13 weeks on top of that, plus the extra $600 through July 25th. That is it for today. Please check out my channel for other videos on the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, the CARES Act, also some of my personal music videos and things like that. Definitely go check that out. Also, don't worry, Killing the Points game videos are coming. We are going to get back to credit cards and points and travel and personal finance and all things related. Just kind of getting through this current storm that we are in, and then we will get back to the actual Killing the Points game topics. Don't forget to go check out the Facebook group Killing the Points Game. I'll put a link to that in the description. Also, there are a lot of people that are looking right now at the stock market. It's pretty volatile, but there's a lot of things moving, and there's a lot of people taking advantage of this situation. So, if you would like to jump on that ship, definitely go down to the links below and download either the Webull platform or the Robinhood platform. Webull's a little bit more complicated, but it also has a lot more information in the platform. Robinhood is a little bit simpler, but both platforms offering you free stocks by joining up. I believe it's just one stock with Robinhood, but 2 free stocks if you join with Webull. So definitely use those links below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I put out future videos. Please comment on the videos. I try to respond to as many comments as I possibly can. Be well. I will see you soon.